I'm now going to introduce Dr. Yvonne Thompson.
Thank you very much, Christine. Well, as I've been introduced, my name is Dr. Yvonne Thompson CBE, and everybody always says, well, what have you got a doctorate in, and why are you a CBE? Who gave you a CBE? So I'll get that out of the way now. My doctorate is in mass communications, marketing and PR, and my CBE was for work I've done with small businesses, women and minorities, and it was part of the Queen's birthday honours list. And that's quite ironic because I'm now on that board that hands them out, so that's great. So as mentioned, I've been in business, I've been running my own business for 30 years, and it's been in marketing and PR within the communications industry. And part of that industry, sorry, I do have flu, so my voice might go slightly and I'll grab some water. Part of that industry has been radio, and also, as already mentioned, I was the only female director on Choice FM. There was a board of 10 of us altogether, and I was the only female board director. And the only reason I got there was because at the time they were handing out the licenses to protect the airwaves from piracy, because there was a lot of black music stations popping up all over the place that were known as pirate radio. It wasn't the underground, they didn't call it underground, new wave, interesting youth movement, they called it pirate. And the reason that I got on the board was because as part of the government initiative, they insisted that they wanted more diversity, and part of the diversity was to ensure that women had a part in radio and newspapers and magazines. So I'm not saying it's the only reason I got there, but it is one of the reasons I got there. They had to have a woman. And I also believe that they approached 2 women before me, but I was the only one that had the foresight to know that at some point the whole radio spectrum is going to be deregulated. At that time, 23 years ago now, in fact in March it'd be 20, oh this is March, okay, wow, it's 24 years ago. And at that time, the only music you could listen to on a national or mainstream was Radio 1 or Capital Radio, and it was all pop music, all pop music. There were no black British artists being promoted. There were no American music, black music, being easily imported or easily aired on the airwaves in the UK. So with the starting up of Choice FM, you could say we broke down some barriers. We helped to promote more black music into or onto the radio spectrum, so there's a much more diverse range of music that you could listen to. And it was also an opportunity, it was twofold. It was an opportunity for small black businesses or small local businesses to be able to advertise. I don't know if anybody realises that when for instance, let's say, for instance, on Capital Radio right now, most ads are about 30 seconds. And for that 30 seconds, you could pay about £3,000 for 30 seconds. It's probably more now. I'm talking about when I could remember. But it's probably more. Now, small businesses, there's absolutely no way that small businesses could afford that. And one of the things that Choice FM brought to local businesses, not just black businesses, to local businesses as well, was the opportunity to be able to promote their business on air and grow their business. So that was one of the reasons that I was so passionate. And of course, the other thing was, at that time, 23, 24 years ago, there weren't that many women-owned businesses around. And there again was another opportunity. So I was very anxious to make sure that we prized the doors open as much as we could as far as allowing other businesses, other women, other opportunities to get through. So that's my choice of MHAT. I'm not going to tell you too much more about that. And as I said, I've been in marketing and PR for 30 years. And throughout that time, I've gathered a lot of tools, tips, and techniques for getting more business, for meeting new people. And I guess one of the most popular ways, or one of the best ways, is through networking. So what I've done today, excuse me a minute. So what I've done today is put together, or I'm going to share with you, I should say, two tips, two very different tips on how to network. When I was coming here today to speak, I said to my partner, 10 minutes, what can I say in 10 minutes? And he said, some of the best speeches are made in 10 minutes. He says, what you have to remember, that a good speech is like a lady's skirt. Yes? Short enough to keep them interested, but long enough to cover the subject. So I hope I'm going to give you enough information, and it's going to be enough, interesting enough for you. Okay, my first tip. I use this a lot, not only in networking, but with a lot of other things that I do. And it's called Kipling's Serving Men. Do any of you know about Kipling's Serving Men? No? No. Okay, well, I'll tell you. Okay. Kipling had 6 serving men. They taught him all he knew. Their names was what, why, how, where, when, and who. So if you think about that, as I said, it doesn't only have to be in networking. It could be in anything that you want to structure. It could be a document, it could be a plan, it could be a presentation. What you need to think about is, what is it you want to gain from whatever it is you're going to do? So if you're going to be networking, what do you want to gain from networking? Yeah? So for instance, today, what do you want to gain from today? Why do you want to meet new people? Why do you want to be here? Is it for business? Is it for social? What is it you want to be? Why do you want to be here? How are you going to do it? And today we can network in so many different ways through social media, online. I say we all have Facebooks. I'm assuming we all have Facebooks, or most of us by now will have had Facebooks. There's LinkedIn. There's all these different ways of networking. But for me, I think the most important one and the best one is physical, being here, actually going to events and shaking people's hands, finding out who they are. And the important thing of when you're doing that is, it's very, very tempting to walk up to somebody to say, oh, I'm hi, I'm this, I'm that, I'm me. But what you should be doing is finding out about them. You need to find out more about people, and the thing to do, why you should find out about them and let them talk to you first is very simple. If you're not interested, you can move on very quickly. But if you are interested, you stay and you learn a bit more. So let them, go up and talk to somebody, find out about them. If you want to talk to them, you stay and you talk to them, find out a bit more about them, make sure they know about you. There's the usual thing about networking a room, or depending, for instance, today, if I was networking this room, I would try not to leave with less than 6 cards. 6 business cards or 6 contacts. And on the back of those business cards, you always make a little note. Try to make a little note before you move on to the other person. There's no point in just collecting the cards, because they'll go into your pocket and you'll think, who the hell was that? You'll get it out and why did I take this person's card? So if you make a little note, just 1 or 2 words, it doesn't have to be a whole sentence, you know, she's this, she's that, you know. Just keywords on the back of the card, and remind yourself when you said you'd get back in touch with them, and make sure that you do that, because there's no point in networking and meeting people if you don't follow up on it. So the where, oh sorry, we talked about the how. I've already talked about how. Where. Really depending on who you are, what you do, why you want to network. I'm actually leaving here and I'm going to Nigeria on a plane tonight to do, not networking, but I'm going to do some business, but it will be part of networking because I'm hoping to get more business out of that. So in a way, yes, it's a trip. I'm here today. I've networked already with a few people. So it's really up to you how far you want to go, you know, how far it takes you. When, that's a whole different story. I think you need to be very choosy about where you go, when you go to network, how often you're seen networking. You don't want to be one of these people that's known to turn up at the opening of an envelope. So you just have to make sure that you're quite selective about what you do and when you do it. And I think I've already talked about who, but I just want to say a lot of people tend to network with people that look like themselves, and that is not widening your spectrum. You need to think about diversity. You need to think not only diversity from a business point of view, but diversity in every aspect, really. So do think about what you're doing, how you're doing it. But whatever you do, you have to make sure you have to be polished, professional. And has anybody seen The Karate Kid, the movie? Yeah? Yeah? Somebody said yes. No? Okay. Okay. Well, in The Karate Kid, there's an old Japanese guy that teaches karate. And one of the things that I took away from that movie is that he said to the Karate Kid, focus on your focus. Right? So, and that to me is some really very good advice. Whatever it is you're going to do, whatever it is you're going to network about, whatever you're going to find out, who you're going to meet, focus on your focus. Don't arrive and just wander off willy-nilly. Be sure you know what you're doing, do it. I'm quite often told that I'm recognised as one of these people that will go to an event. I have a golden hour. And within that golden hour, depending on the size of the event, obviously, within that golden hour, or maybe an hour and a half at the most, I will be in and out. I will have met and spoken to who I want to speak to. Don't be the first there. Don't be the last to leave. But just make sure that you need to, you know, you do what you do. Okay, I'm being given a wind-up signal here. Okay, so my second tip, I'll go straight into that. Once you get up here and you start talking, you don't realise how quickly the time goes. Okay, okay. Well, my second tip is a bit more of an anecdote, and it's just something. It's just a bit of a joke, really, but it's something for you to think about when you're marketing, either marketing yourself or when you're networking, or even if you're branding yourself. And it's called What is Marketing? You have to be a little bit patient with me on this one. It's, okay, what is marketing? Marketing, you see a gorgeous girl at a party, you go up to her and say, hey, I'm very rich, marry me. That's direct marketing, okay? You're at another party with a bunch of friends, and you see a gorgeous girl. You send one of your friends to the gorgeous girl, and pointing to yourself, say, over there, he's very rich, you should marry him. That's advertising. Another party, you go, someone else goes up to another gorgeous girl, you go up to her, you get a telephone number, the next day you call her and say, I'm the guy you met last night, why don't you marry me? You're doing this all by telephone, so that's telemarketing. You're at another party, you open the door for the girl that's in front of you, she's gorgeous, she drops her bag, you pick up her bag, you know, you offer her a ride home, you're taking care of her right throughout the night. And at the end of the evening, just as she's about to leave, you say to her, will you marry me? And that's public relations, right? You're at another reception. It's all right, I'm getting there. You're at another reception. You straighten up your tie, you walk up to the girl, you hand her a card, she gives you yours, and you promise to call her within a week. And just before you leave, you say, oh, by the way, I'm very rich. Will you marry me? You give her the card. That's networking, kind of. You're at another party. A gorgeous girl from across the room sees you and walks over to you and says, I know you're really rich, aren't you? Will you marry me? Now, that's brand recognition, right? Okay, last one. Another gorgeous girl comes over to you, and you say to her, I'm really rich. She looks at you. She gives you a really hard slap on your face, and that's called customer feedback. But whatever your goals are, don't accept that sky's the limit. As was said recently on television, don't accept that the sky's the limit because there are footsteps on the moon. And because we're talking about International Day's celebration, I must end with Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire, or Astaire even. She was much better than Fred because she did everything that he could do backwards and in heels. And that's it. Thank you.